In a vast, ancient forest where towering pines whispered age-old secrets and a gentle carpet of ferns and wildflowers swayed in the dappled sunlight, young Milo the bear cub roamed free. His days were filled with playful adventures, tumbling through soft moss, chasing fluttering butterflies, and marveling at the curious shapes cast by the shifting light through the trees. In this enchanted world, every rustle of the wind and every chirp of unseen birds was a reminder of nature's quiet harmony, and Milo's innocent heart beat in tune with the rhythm of the wild. One serene afternoon, as the forest basked in the golden warmth of a late summer sun, an imperceptible change stirred in the underbrush. In a secluded glen where the vegetation had grown dry and brittle from the unrelenting heat, a tiny spark ignited unexpectedly. At first, it was little more than a flicker, a brief, elusive flash that danced upon dead leaves and twigs. None of the forest's inhabitants noticed the spark's arrival, but fate had set in motion a chain of events that would upend the tranquil life Milo knew. Milo, ever curious and sensitive to even the smallest disturbances, was the first to sense something amiss. As he bounded along a familiar path, his playful gaze caught sight of an unusual glimmer amidst a tangle of dried brush. With a gentle tilt of his head and a cautious step forward, he drew nearer, the scent of dry, crackling leaves filling his nostrils. In that moment, the spark burst into life, feeding on the parched undergrowth as if it had been waiting for this perfect moment. The delicate flame quickly grew bolder, its orange tendrils beginning to paint the surrounding greenery with startling, vivid strokes. A hush fell over the area as the air shifted, carrying with it a faint, acrid scent that replaced the usual earthy fragrance. The serene whisper of the forest seemed to pause, as if nature itself held its breath. Milo's wide, curious eyes widened further in astonishment and a hint of apprehension. He watched, transfixed, as what had once been a tiny, innocuous glimmer became a burgeoning flame, an omen of change that would soon shatter the forest's timeless calm. Unaware of the full magnitude of what was unfolding, Milo felt an odd mixture of wonder and trepidation. The innocent forest he had known was beginning to transform before his very eyes, and in that fragile, fleeting moment, the spark of transformation was set. The bear cub sensed that this was not merely a natural occurrence, it was a turning point, a moment that would challenge every creature in the forest in ways they had never imagined. As the flame danced and flickered, casting shifting shadows on the forest floor, a shadow of uncertainty crept into Milo's heart. For the first time, he experienced the stark contrast between the peaceful world of his youth and the raw, unpredictable force of nature unleashed by that solitary spark. The stage was set for a great upheaval, a test of resilience and bravery that would soon force Milo to confront a destiny much larger than his playful existence. In the soft glow of that fateful light, as the spark began its inexorable journey toward becoming an all-consuming blaze, Milo stood on the cusp of a new beginning. The forest, his home and sanctuary, was about to be transformed in ways no one could foresee. And amidst the gathering shadows and rising heat, the tiny bear cub's adventure, a journey that would reveal the true essence of courage, had quietly begun. Within moments of that fateful spark igniting the parched underbrush, the forest transformed into a turbulent battleground of fire and smoke. The once gentle glow now erupted into a roaring blaze as the flame, fueled by dry leaves and brittle twigs, rapidly expanded. The crackling of burning wood and the hissing of flames filled the air, drowning out the once familiar chorus of birds and rustling trees. Milo, the young bear cub, found himself suddenly thrust into a maelstrom of panic. The playful pathways of his childhood were obscured by swirling tendrils of dense smoke and erratic bursts of heat that warped the landscape around him. In the midst of this sudden chaos, he became separated from his family. The comforting silhouettes of his mother and siblings, once so close, faded into the hazy uncertainty as the fire advanced with relentless speed. Frantically, Milo dashed along narrow trails he once knew by heart. His small paws pounded the earth as he leapt over scattered debris, dodged falling branches, and navigated around pockets of intense heat. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to seek out safety, yet beneath the rising tide of fear, a nascent spark of determination took hold. Even as the blaze transformed his familiar world into one of perilous confusion, the cub's inner resolve began to emerge. The chaotic scene was painted in vivid, unsettling contrasts, towering flames that roared like wild beasts, smoke clouds swirling around shattered remnants of trees, and the desperate cries of other forest creatures lost in the turmoil. Along his treacherous path, Milo witnessed both terror and unexpected acts of kindness. A fallen log became a temporary refuge for a shivering hare, and amidst the panic, an aged deer guided a lost fawn toward a narrow, less conflagrated pathway.
These moments, though laced with desperation, offered glimmers of hope amid the disaster.
Driven by the urgency to survive and a growing understanding of the need to help others, Milo pressed on. With each careful, trembling step, he made his way further into the inferno's chaotic dance. His heart pounded not only with fear but also with determination. He felt, deep down, that he must forge ahead and find a way to reunite with those he loved. In his rapid escape, the smoldering forest was a maze of unpredictable dangers. Sudden gusts of wind would change the fire's direction, and hidden patches of intense heat tested his reflexes at every turn. At one harrowing moment, a cascade of falling debris narrowly missed him as he scampered under the low-hanging branches of a partially scorched tree. The fiery light and heavy shadows painted an unsettling portrait of nature at war with itself. Yet, through every peril, the bear cub's courage steadily grew. With his eyes fixed on the faint glimmers of safe havens in the distant areas where the fire's wrath had momentarily subsided, Milo persevered, every stride a declaration of hope in the face of overwhelming chaos. As the blazing inferno continued to reshape the forest, Milo's journey through the pandemonium was not only a desperate race for survival but also the beginning of a transformation in his spirit. Every act of dodging danger, every breath taken amid the acrid smoke, imbued him with a growing resolve. Amid the discord of roaring flames and frantic animal cries, the cub discovered a profound truth: even in the midst of overwhelming chaos, the heart can summon the strength to move forward and to fight for the hope of a reunion and for a new beginning amidst the destructive power of nature. Thus, as the flames consumed the familiar landscape and scattered his world into fragments, Milo raced through the chaos, his determination setting him on a path towards a destiny that would forever alter his understanding of courage. In the eerie stillness that followed the furious uproar of the blaze, a hushed quiet settled over the scarred forest. Amid lingering wisps of smoke and the soft crackle of cooling embers, Milo the bear cub emerged into a world transformed. The chaos of the inferno had given way to a surreal calm, an interlude where nature's voice began to speak in gentle, yet insistent whispers. Wandering through the ashen remnants, Milo paused as the once familiar pathways were now lined with darkened trees and delicate green sprouts daring to reclaim the scorched earth. In this subdued light, every rustle of fallen leaves and every distant murmur of the forest carried hidden messages. It was as if the wild itself was calling out to him, inviting him to listen and to understand that even in devastation, life held its promise of renewal. Drawn by that mysterious call, Milo ventured deeper into the recovering woodland. His curious eyes soon met those of an old owl perched upon a broken branch of a charred oak. The owl's amber eyes shone with a deep, knowing wisdom. In the silence that enveloped them, the owl communicated without words. His steady gaze and subtle head tilts conveyed the story of the forest's enduring resilience. The owl reminded Milo that nature undergoes cycles of destruction and rebirth, that each flame, however fierce, ultimately paves the way for a fresh start. Encouraged by this quiet assurance, Milo continued his journey and soon encountered a small clearing illuminated by the soft glow of dusk. Here, a ragged group of survivors had gathered, a timid family of rabbits huddled together for comfort, a lone deer with cautious eyes, and even a weathered tortoise slowly making his way through the debris. Each creature bore the marks of the inferno, yet in their resilient postures, Milo sensed a unified strength. Their presence testified that even after overwhelming adversity, life clings tenaciously to hope. As he sat among the subdued assembly, the bear cub's heart began to align with the steady pulse of the wild. The call of the forest, the sighing breeze through the ashen boughs, the whisper of new leaves unfurling, and the distant, rhythmic sound of trickling water spoke to him of the natural cycle that promised healing and growth. It was a call beyond the flames, urging all living beings to restore balance and to look forward to the promise of a new dawn. In that reflective moment, Milo felt an awakening. Beyond the immediate struggle for survival lay a grander, more profound purpose. He understood that his journey was evolving from one of mere escape to that of seeking understanding and connection with the resilient spirit of the wild. The forest, scarred though it might be, was encouraging him to embrace change, to accept the painful beauty of transformation, and to join in the collective effort to nurture the fragile shoots of revival sprouting up from the ashes. Thus, with a mix of cautious hope and resolute determination, Milo rose to answer the call of the wild. His small form, once overwhelmed by the relentless fire, now carried a spark of enlightenment, a promise that within every ending lies the seed of a new beginning. The call he had heard was not one of despair, but a gentle invitation to become part of nature's eternal cycle of renewal and rebirth. In that transformative moment, the bear cub's journey transcended the physical realm, venturing into a deeper understanding of courage and the ever-persistent spirit of life. Driven by a newfound sense of purpose, Milo gathered his courage and ventured back toward the heart of the raging fire, a realm where danger and hope intertwined in every flicker of flame.
The forest, now a labyrinth of charred trunks and smoldering undergrowth, transformed into a perilous battleground.
Each step forward was a risky defiance against nature's wrath, as Milo navigated through narrow corridors where the heat was almost palpable and the air shimmered with rising temperatures. In this treacherous zone, the bear cub's senses were heightened to their limits. He carefully observed the shifting patterns of the flames, noting how the wind redirected the blaze from one path to another. With each calculated move, he avoided falling embers and dodged collapsing branches that threatened to block his way. The scorched earth crackled under his paws, and the distant roar of the inferno reminded him that time was of the essence, a call to rescue and restore what remained of the forest's fragile life.
As Milo pressed deeper into the fiery chaos, he discovered pockets of survivors ensnared by the relentless flames.
At one critical juncture, he encountered a small family of field mice trapped behind a barrier of smoldering debris.
Their terrified eyes mirrored his own determination, and without hesitation, Milo sprang into action.
Using his sturdy frame, he carefully dislodged fallen branches and cleared a narrow path.
Though the heat sapped his strength, he pushed on, guiding the vulnerable creatures toward a safer haven beyond the scorching wall of flame.
The inferno roared in response to every challenge. A sudden burst of wind carried a shower of burning ash, obscuring the vision of the brave cub and forcing him to rely solely on instinct. In that suffocating haze, he narrowly avoided a cascade of falling bark and realized that the fire, though destructive, had its own chaotic rhythm, a rhythm that, if understood, could reveal a path to safety. With focused determination, Milo charted his course based on subtle cues, the direction of thinning smoke, the cooler patches where the flames had momentarily subsided, and even the soft murmurs of water from a hidden stream nearby. Amid the relentless ordeal, moments of unexpected grace began to shine through the dark tapestry of flames. In an almost surreal display of resilience, Milo encountered a wounded young deer caught in a narrow ravine. The trembling animal, overwhelmed by pain and fear, could hardly move. Moved by empathy and guided by his burgeoning sense of responsibility, Milo gently nudged the deer, using his body as a shield against a drifting ember storm. With deliberate care, he led the fragile creature along a safer path, one that wound past the worst of the devastation, thereby forging a bond born of mutual need and shared survival. Every life Milo touched during his hazardous journey illuminated a profound truth, that even in the heart of destruction, the smallest acts of bravery could spark transformative hope. The cub's own courage grew immeasurably with each rescue, each narrow escape from the unforgiving flames. With every obstacle surmounted, his spirit became more robust, a beacon of resilience amid the chaotic fury of the inferno. As the raging blaze began to relent, yielding ground to exhaustion and the encroaching chill of twilight, Milo emerged from the perilous depths of the fire more determined than ever. Though the scars of the fire were etched deeply into the forest, and the echoes of its roar still reverberated, his daring journey had woven a new thread of hope into the tapestry of the woodland. Standing amidst the ashen embers, Milo had not only defied the inferno but had also kindled within himself and the hearts of those he rescued a steadfast belief that courage, even in its smallest form, could defy even the most ferocious of fires. As the wildfire's fury finally ebbed, a hushed calm settled over the scarred forest, heralding the dawn of renewal. In the aftermath of the relentless blaze, Milo emerged into a transformed landscape where the air, still tinged with the smoky memory of the inferno, now carried a promise of healing. The once terrifying darkness was gradually replaced by the soft, diffused glow of early morning light, illuminating cracked, ashen soil now interspersed with tenacious green sprouts pushing their way toward life.
Milo paused at the edge of a clearing where nature's resilience was unmistakably evident.
The devastation, raw and overwhelming in its immediacy, had begun to give way to delicate signs of recovery. Tender leaves unfurled on once bare branches, and small wildflowers, almost timid in their emergence from the blackened earth, painted subtle strokes of color against a backdrop of muted grays and browns. The forest, though wounded, was determined to reclaim its former vibrancy. Among the survivors who had found shelter amidst the ruins, an unspoken camaraderie now flourished. Creatures that had once fled in terror now gathered in a quiet enclave beneath a mighty oak, its trunk scarred by the fire yet still standing as a steadfast guardian. Here, Milo found himself embraced by familiar faces, a seasoned tortoise slowly making its way over, a gentle deer whose wide eyes reflected both sorrow and hope, and even the wise old owl whose earlier guidance had steered him through chaos. Their subdued presence, marked by the scars of survival, resonated with the understanding that they were all part of a greater, enduring cycle. In that serene moment, as nature began its slow process of mending the wounds inflicted by the blaze, Milo felt a stirring in his heart. The trials he had endured were not in vain. Every harrowing escape, every act of quiet heroism in the midst of chaos, had forged within him an unyielding spirit of courage. He realized that true bravery was a tapestry woven not solely from grand gestures, but from the sum of countless small acts of compassion, determination, and hope in the face of overwhelming adversity. With the day's gentle warmth enveloping him, Milo vowed that he would honor the sacrifice of the forest and the lives saved during the fire by nurturing this newfound renewal. He set out to help clear away the remnants of destruction, guiding his fellow survivors to reclaim safe passages and encouraging the natural reclaiming of their shared home. Together, they began to gently clear fallen debris, each stroke of effort reinforcing the message that life, even when nearly extinguished, could be rekindled. As the hours turned to days, the forest slowly blossomed with life. Rainfall arrived in tender whispers, washing away the last traces of soot and infusing the earth with life-giving moisture. Milo witnessed the miraculous comeback of nature, the return of songbirds heralding the revival of the woodland, the reappearance of busy insects weaving through the newly vibrant foliage, and even the soft murmur of a stream that had once been silenced by the overwhelming heat. In every corner of that recovering land, the promise of rebirth was palpable. Standing amidst this rejuvenation, Milo felt transformed, no longer just a survivor of the inferno, but a symbol of hope and resilience. His journey through fire had revealed to him that while destruction can lay waste to the old, it also clears the way for a future renewed. The brave actions he had taken during the blaze had sown seeds of courage that would one day flourish into a legacy for the entire forest. In the gentle light of a rising sun, as the forest whispered its slow return to vitality, Milo recognized that his tale was far from over. His heart now beat in harmony with a world that, even after profound loss, could rebuild itself, stronger and more beautiful than before. The bear cub had not only survived a ferocious forest fire, he had discovered that within the ashes lay the true heart of bravery, a courageous spirit that embraces both the pain of the past and the limitless promise of tomorrow.